But I'll finish in terms of the diseases I'll go through before I round up some points with pandemic influenza, because this remains by far, by a very, very long distance, our biggest known epidemic risk. It is the top of the UK national government-held risk register, outweighing every other risk that the nation faces, and for very good reasons. Airborne risk is indiscriminate. It's much more difficult to interrupt than other transmission routes. Stopping people touching one another, changing sexual behaviour may be difficult. It's a lot harder to stop them actually breathing in an environment around people. The spread of an influenza pandemic is really rapid, as I demonstrated in some of my earlier slides, the massive speed at which the 1918 pandemic occurred exactly 100 years ago, and a very high proportion of the population would be affected at once. So if you think about a situation where around 20% of the population were actually infected, that most of those who were not infected would probably be caring for children, for grandparents, for friends who had the disease. Let's say you take out 50% of all train drivers, all supermarket workers, all nurses, everyone who mans the banks, and just think what that's going to do to our society. That is the reason why this is a really serious potential threat to the UK. And the question is not whether we will have another pandemic. We will have another pandemic. It's really a question of when and how bad. The last pandemic we had in 2009 was really pretty low virulence, but still very substantial numbers. And just looking at that one, again, just looking at the speed of this, this is around the 6th of April, where it had spread to. This is around the 20th of April, by May, and by July. That's the speed it transmitted around the world. There were somewhere between 40 and 90 million cases from this pandemic. And because it was low virulence, there were only between 8 and 18,000 deaths. But this was a near miss. This could have been a lot worse. And there are, of course, wide estimates on the numbers. The peak of transmission of this came on incredibly fast. If you look at the UK numbers, this just shows you quite how quickly this hits. It's in a matter of a couple of weeks. So this is not something you have time properly to prepare for. Officially, there were 457 deaths in 2 waves. Almost certainly the numbers were a bit higher than that. We did have a vaccine available, but well after the peak. So it wouldn't have helped us if this peak had been massive. The use of drugs was highly controversial. I'm not going to go into controversy. I could do so in questions if you're interested. They're most useful if taken early, but importantly, all the drugs, a single mutation of the virus was enough to make the drug ineffective. And these occurred fairly early on in the epidemic. And a whole bunch, inevitably, of interventions were called for, like screening at airports and banning travel, which are utterly useless. Well, it's close to utterly useless, it makes no difference. And closing schools, which does have an effect, but at a significant cost to the education of the children and to the people who are working, who then have to stop work so they can look after children at home. So this is going to have considerable problems. We can certainly put the building blocks in place to try and address an influenza pandemic, but we have to be aware that this would be chaotic and big, and no plan survives contact with the enemy. So the things we got in place, mathematical models, very good models, that will help us early in a pandemic to work out how quickly it's going to move, where it's going to go. Global virus identification networks to work out very quickly what the virus is and where it's come from, what it looks like. We've pre-decided, although there's lots of debate about bits of it, which bits of the health service you'd close down first to protect the rest, because we have to do that to work out how severe it is. We worked out how to optimize vaccine production, but we all know that 4 months is the absolute minimum, and you look at the speed of that transmission, the great majority of the first wave will have done its damage well before we have a vaccine, and you've got an antiviral stockpile, which is a lot better than nothing, but has some problems associated with it. So just to pull together some of the themes on this. The first reaction to an epidemic, even quite a small one, is usually panic. And in fact, for small epidemics, panic is what causes the major problems. But for a big epidemic, it is genuinely big. And some of the examples I've given, particularly 1918 flu pandemic and HIV, seriously big. How we respond to them needs to depend on mortality and severity, Treatment, what we've got, what we can adapt, and what we can develop. Vaccines, but for most new pandemics,